Yo, 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 yo. Welcome to another episode of Open for Discussion. Tonight, I'm super excited about this. I've been having people asking me for the last couple of weeks about this particular topic and the things that we're going to be discussing tonight. We're talking about dating and getting the rules and getting some insight and some things that's going to help people become a navigate in this dating game. And we have some phenomenal guests on here today as a panel. And before I introduce them, we're going to kick this intro. And then when we come back, we'll have our amazing guests. Let's go kick it. Oh, let me bring them on. I have my man Derrick Jones, the relationship coach. Relationship Gumbo is where you can reach him at. I have my homegirl Bre Mitriece out here doing big things, and she's amazing. And I have my boy CaNon Harper out here who's doing some big things as well. And I am Seymour Reese Ball, and tonight we're gonna be talking about dating and do's and don'ts and relationships and dispelling myths and all kind of stuff. So how y'all doing tonight?
I'm good. I'm good.
I'm
How
doing
y'all doing?
well.
Good.
Everybody
Happy to be
good?
here.
I am truly excited that y'all are here, and what I want to say, I appreciate y'all for taking time out of y'all busy day to to come and hang out with me. Everybody that's on this panel is phenomenal. They all doing phenomenal things within the spaces that they operate in, and I am just truly glad that that y'all were able to come and hang out with me today. So let's get it going. Introduce yourselves, tell a little bit about yourselves, and then we're gonna jump right into this thing because you know, it's a hot topic, and I know this could actually go as long as it goes, but this is just part one of a series that I'm going to create within this dating space, and emotional intelligence kind of space and all that other stuff. So, what you got going on, Miss Bree? Introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, my name is Bre Mitriece and I am all things self love. I partner with women and I act as the instrument to point them back to themselves so that they can learn to love themselves, heal, so they can ultimately live this healthy, happy, and whole life.
Awesome. Go ahead, D.
Hey, everybody. My name is Derrick Jones, aka Coach Derrick, and I am the creator and founder of Relationship Gumbo Coaching, where the tenets there are that we give you the ingredients to heal first so that you can reveal the best version of yourself in your dating relationship and even your marriage life. So we start from the foundation and build you up so you don't have to come back.
I love that. I love that. Um, and CaNon, go ahead.
CaNon Harper, CEO of Grown Man Publishing and author of Grown Man Publishing. Grown Man Wear is my brand. And really, my thing is I just try to enlighten people and use my transgressions to help further prevent our youth from going the path of least resistance, which I fell victim to.
Okay. So we're talking about dating tonight, and tonight we're going to be just chopping it up. Everybody's in this dating space, right? And so what is I'm just jumping right into some questions. I some people had sent me some questions. I'm gonna jump right into it. What is one of the biggest misconceptions about entering into the dating space in this time right now?
Uh, oh,
Hey, whoever want to go.
I would say one of the biggest misconceptions is that you have to be perfectly healed. although you need to do some healing work, don't think you have to reach this point of perfection, quote unquote, before you can enter into a relationship. Do some of the work now, but prepare to always do work on yourself, because relationship will bring out certain things in you, some triggers that you may not have went through when you was alone. So yes, do some of the healing work, but don't think you have to be perfect before you can enter into a relationship.
All right, I'm ready. I'm ready now. I'm ready now. I think the big misconception is that we have like an unlimited amount of choices.
Okay.
Like with the dating apps and all these things, and you see all of these people on the apps, and you think that you can just talk to 100 and you're gonna find a bunch of people that like you, and it's not that's not how it works.
Right. Right. Okay. Kanan, what you got going on up there?
I think one of the biggest misconceptions is we think we're ready when we're not. We fall victim to a want and a desire, and it's a bigger picture when you're involved in a relationship.
Okay. Now, with all that said, so what is one of the things that right off the bat that you would recommend for somebody who is looking to have a re-entry into this dating space, um or have this dating on tap as you ready to start having potential dating mates? Where would they start? Where would y'all recommend they start at?
I already know me and Brianna answer is gonna be real similar, so I'm gonna divert to her. I'm gonna let her go first because we both operate from that healing space. But I'm gonna let her rock out.
So your first point of starting is going to be with yourself. First, you need to get with yourself to understand, are you even, like Kanan was saying, are you ready for this? Are you ready to date? Are you ready for to be rejected? Are you ready for everything that entails going out and dating? Another thing, are you aware of your standards? Do you have standards? Do you have boundaries? Do you know what you want outside of what society tells you that you're supposed to want in a partner? Are you clear on that? Are you clear on the lifestyle you want to live and things like that? Just getting clear with yourself and asking yourself, why am I dating? Am I dating from a place of wholeness, or am I dating because I'm looking for someone to fill certain voids within myself? So it's really tapping in with self first and asking yourself those introspective questions, so that you know that when you get out there, you know what you want and you know what you don't want, and you're easy to maneuver in this marketplace.
We all got to follow behind her tonight.
Yeah,
I'm like, I ain't got nothing left. But
I choose not to.
so I guess to add on, I think I would probably like everything what she said, right? Because I come from a place of like self mastery first before you can even build the boundaries. Because if you don't know who you are, the boundaries are built around something that's not going to work for the most part. So I always come from a place of self-awareness first. Then you can build the building blocks on all the things that she just said. And then also know that most of our redemption stories in dating comes outside of our comfort zone. Our comfort zone ain't been doing us right for so many years and most of our lives for some of us. And it's time to try to, maybe fish in a different pool. Maybe your type, once you start healing, might not be the same type when you get on the other side of trying to start to heal. Because like she said in the beginning, there's no such thing as the end to it. But a lot of people haven't started it. But once you start to realize things about yourself, then a lot of the things that you thought you wanted and needed most likely will change. So I would say before you start dating, at least know who you are. So because if you don't, you're matching up with what are those people, which version of you are these people falling for?
Ooh,
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm landing my plane.
Woo-wee. Y'all coming out the box throwing haymakers. I love it. What you got up there, Miss Kanan? What you got?
I really didn't think you was gonna set me up like this. I don't know what. I mean, of course, as you know, Maurice, the thing is though, definitely starting with self, and you have to be very honest with yourself, because if you're not honest with yourself, then you're going to follow the wrong the reason that you're in pursuit is going to be for the wrong reasons. And then once that happens, you know, then you tear people down. So I would say you have to be honest with yourself about who you are as a person, because a man you could be at that point and say, well, I'm ready to settle down. You know I made some mistakes in the past and I want to do this. But you know dang on well, when you just came from Walmart, that everything in stretch pants that walked past you had double take. You probably not really ready, you know. So know yourself and work on self-discipline. That's the key word, discipline.
Okay, so in this dating game, how much in this dating game do you believe society is playing a role in how people are choosing to date and choosing to choose mates, based off of social media? How much do y'all think that plays into today's dating game?
A lot.
A whole
A
lot.
lot.
Too much.
A lot. A lot of people, especially, well, a lot of people of all ages are taking their cues from what they see on social media as opposed to asking themselves, is this what I want in a partner, right? What do, the whole 50-50 conversation, or the man needs to be the provider. People take their cues instead of asking themselves, this is the life I want to live. What do I want in a partner? So yeah, or from the if he don't call you in 2 hours, he don't like little stuff like that. If you had, little things that once you listen to it, it infiltrates your mind, and now you don't even have grace for people because somebody on social media said if he didn't call you in 2 hours, he don't like you, and it's like he was asleep. So certain things we
Right.
let infiltrate our system, and it can make us start dating from a place of fear rather from a place of wholeness. So yeah, a lot.
Yeah, I would say if you really look at how much social media people consume in a day, and then we're in an era now where relationship conversation is like probably the one of the most top trending things. So when you put those two things together, a lot of people are listening and consuming relationship based like podcasts and live streams and all of these things, but there's no filter on whether it's good or bad. They're just, did I flash off?
Now you good.
No, okay. So I think when you consume stuff that may not be good for you, but you still consume it every day, it starts to affect how you think, how you move. You see a large group moving one way, you run with the group. That's unfortunately how our human brains are kind of wired sometimes. And until you detach from it, then you start to believe this stuff. And then, like, we'll see people out in the real world parroting the same stuff that they heard, but it's not even really who they are. And then it starts to spill over into the people that they meet. And it's like, wait, like, so this is what we doing? They like, yeah, it worked online. So let me be, yeah, it's weird, but I think it happens way too often. Cause I do live streams too, but when you go to those toxic ones, it'd be like 1,000 people in there. And they'll just sit on there for 4, 5, 6 hours. And I'm like, and then that becomes the narrative, unfortunately. It's unfortunate that we're influenced like this, but repetition builds habits, unfortunately.
For sure.
So that's all I got.
And that entertainment world is too influential. It's almost corrupt to the point where it's poisonous that what they feed the kids to think they're supposed to be living a certain way. Like one of the things that gets me is the glorifying of something that's destructive. Not too long ago, I was riding around and I was listening to KRS-One, and then listening to him, I was like, man, you could have listened to him and maybe cheated on a test or something back in school. Now the stuff you riding around listening to can get you in trouble, and our girls are expected to have unrealistic expectations. Our men don't know what our women should be able to expect from them and be able to depend on them for. So we have these outside forces, I'm gonna say, that have really infiltrated the dating pool, because now we talk at each other, we don't talk to one another. People want to put a monopoly on who's to blame, and no one wants to reconcile. Everybody only wants to push their narrative. So that problem exists, and I don't know how to fix that.
I don't know if there's a solution, because as y'all all are saying, we spend more time on these phones instead of actual conversations, and so um, the social media praise and graze and craze is like, hey, let me listen to what they're saying, and it might work. Like I say, people are actually regurgitating things that are out here. One thing I can say, this is just a side. I'm gonna take a break. Anybody that watches this live, and I'm gonna put their all their um, TikToks up later on. But anytime you jump in their lives, Derrick said it the best. He said that you got 1,000 people sitting in a toxic live, just getting infected and poisoned, and just staying in the room. I can guarantee you right now, on any one of these panelists, if you jump in their room, you will not be in a room full of toxic, venomous, poisonous, downgrading, I got my Billy Club, you got your Billy Club kind of thing. Each and every person that I chose to be on here care about the people that are in their life. So regardless if you jump in CaNon's, or you jump in Derrick's, or you jump in Bre's live, you will experience somebody that's really truly trying to help people, and not let people in the room dictate how the room goes. So that's just my little thing on the side note. So I'm a put all their social media up, all their TikToks later on, and I want everybody to go follow them and get a part of their communities, because they're out doing big things. So okay, now we're kind of talking about this dating game. What this is not a question for an adult, but this is just a general question that I get, and I'll tell you my stance on it after y'all speak. But what age is a good age for dating as far as teens?
Ooh, that's a good question. Because I have a teenage daughter, so I don't know if I want to answer this one yet.
Okay.
I got
I have a
two.
teenage son, so I can tell y'all.
Teenagers
Let me
too.
tell you what my
So
stance is on it. I totally disagree with dating as a young person, because you can't you can't contain the emotions that come along with that. And the number one cause for suicide is broken relationships amongst teens. So that's my stance on it. But I just want to this is just a side note, because we not on here to talk about the kids. We're gonna do that later on. But I just want to
Right.
get y'all's take on that.
Like everybody's silent.
I agree. I got
Because we all got teenagers. We
I
all
have two teenage daughters, and then I got to think about when I was a teenager, trying to date and I had no, we trying to possess people and have control over people, and we don't even know how to handle that. We upset with people, fighting with people, we teenagers over somebody. It just starts this possessive. You don't know how to handle your emotions. We don't have the emotional maturity to be able to understand how to talk about things, how to process things, what that looks like. And so, me personally, I remember my dad when I was younger, he would say, go on groups together. Like if you like somebody, just go out, y'all do group stuff together. You don't have to be one-on-one. And it went in one ear out the other. But as you grow up, you realize he was on to something. My
uh-huh.
dad was on to something. And so my daughters, I have a 14 and a 16-year-old, they don't date. They're not interested in it. And thank you, God. But they tell me stories about their friends and things their friends go through. And it's like, it's too much. It's too much, at that young age. And then on top of going to school, trying to find yourself. When you're a teenager, you still trying to figure out who you are. And then now
Right.
you adding on some other person that wants you to spend all your time with them. And just, so I think 18 plus kind of, you got all your, I tell my girl, you got all your life to date. You don't
Right.
got that much time to be a child. Enjoy that. All your life to date. So just give it a little time. So that's my thing.
I would say 18. If I had my way, it would start at 18 plus. Because but you know what the interesting is too about a lot of kids, not all, because we didn't heard the stories in high school from our kids, but a lot of them ain't even interested. They're not even interested in having anything that looks like stuff that they've seen in their lives, right? Like
Right.
my daughter's like, I ain't never getting married. I don't want it, and I'm like, you only 15, and they literally were like, I don't want no parts of that. And I don't know where that comes from. Like, I don't know where the society. I know she doesn't see it from me per se, but it's like they see so much of the bad stuff out there that they're like, that doesn't look fun to me. So it's a lot of them that are choosing to just be, just do them and be by themselves. And I'm talking about like teens going into the 20s. They're like, yeah, we may date someone, but that whole like moving to the next level and trying to make it, nah, we good. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I don't know. It's an interesting time we're in.
It definitely is, and so I and go ahead, CaNon, what you got?
No, between what I would like and what reality is are two different things for me. And I always like it with my son. I always try to revert back to think about when I was that age, because I'm not so old that I can't remember. So my thing is, if what I tell my son, if I keep you as busy as I plan to have you, if you find time, what you find time to do in between that, more power to you. But as far as dating, I talk to him to be more respectful in it, so he's not being raised with the perception of manhood like the way I was. I was raised in Detroit. I was raised around drug dealers, dudes that was getting money. So I was seeing something completely different. But I wouldn't put him in a position where I don't want him to feel that he has to sneak to do anything, especially something as natural as being attracted to the opposite sex.
Yeah.
Right. So in this, that was just a side note. In this thing, what are y'all all deal in this relationship? And I'm gonna ask this question strictly, to you, Derrick, and maybe they can expound on this, because when you jumped on, you had a really good thing when you talked about trauma picking.
Mm-hmm.
Now, everybody's not familiar with that term or what that is. Can you just talk about that in reference to dating, the trauma picking, and you had something that was attached to that? Can you just kind of talk to that, and let's see what everybody else has to say about that?
So there's probably other terms. It's the term that I use because it's how I identified what I did. And so when we have unresolved traumas, unresolved childhood wounds, and we don't acknowledge them, and sometimes we know that we have issues and we just choose to ignore them because we want to go outside and just find somebody that makes us feel good. When you have that stuff bubbling in underneath the surface, that part of you then becomes the part that picks the partner, because it's trying to be fed. The trauma is trying to be fed. It's trying to find something that makes it not feel so daunting, right? And sometimes we don't even realize how much of us is traumatized. We've normalized it. We're living our lives, but we don't realize that when we're out picking people to pair with, that we're trying to pick and feed the trauma that's still like there. Like if it's an abandonment issue, if it's rejection, if whatever it is, I have to make that feel better. And the unfortunate side effect to that is, if you are so concerned with making it feel better, you're not going to have boundaries. You're not going to have standards. You just want to feel better. That is your primary directive. If that doesn't get fed, then you feel kind of lost. You feel kind of empty. So then it's a cycle, because until you identify it and manage it and heal and do all of these things we talk about, whether you like it or not, you will continue to pick this way. It's almost like it's like that inner child. The inner child is picking, not the grown up. not the conscious mind. That little girl or that little boy is like, hey, I don't want to feel like I'm by myself. And then you're just going to go out and feed that. And you're going to pick people. And you're not going to, like, I didn't realize that's what I did. I didn't realize I was doing that until I sat down and looked at all of the relationships and the connections I had. And I was like, wait, I just wanted somebody to make me feel loved. I didn't care who it was. I didn't care if I qualified them to be a lifelong partner. I just wanted to feed that little boy.
Right.
Who didn't get the hugs, who didn't get the, we're proud of you and all of that kind of stuff. Great parents. They just didn't know how to emote. They didn't never see it. So I never got it. So as soon as I went outside, I was like, who wants a hug? I want, you don't even have to be my type. Just make me feel love. And I did that for a long time. And I, on the show that we did before, I did it for so long. I didn't even know that it was wrong. I just knew that I had to keep feeding it. So
right.
That's pretty much it.
So Bre, what do you think about you deal with women who are working themselves back to being whole? How much of what he's saying as far as them coming from a place of trauma do you see them picking these relationships that are based off of the trauma that they experienced?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think a lot of them are consciously choosing to put themselves in these relationships, but subconsciously they are. Like he talked about abandonment. If you have an abandonment wound, sometimes you get into relationships and you try to hold on because you fear being abandoned. So even if this person is not for you, your soul is screaming to you that they are not for you, that abandonment wound is telling you, but I can't have them leave me. If they leave me, I'm gonna feel this way, or I don't want, so you keep them around even when all the signs are saying that you should let them go. So a lot of the times they are choosing the familiar, what feels familiar to them, what's normal. Like if they may have grew up in a home where they got cussed out, you'll see that all the time. Well, I got cussed, they'll make excuses for it, or even though they know it's wrong, but it's the familiarity, it's that trauma. So he is telling the truth. A lot of time it's not consciously, I don't think a lot of people consciously like, yeah, I'm going out and choose this man that's not good for me, right? Consciously, they're not thinking that, but it's those subconscious wounds and those fears and that pain that they have internally that sometimes draw them to certain people because they got certain voids they want filled, and they believe that person can do that, but ultimately that person ends up making them feel even worse, like add to that pain. And like Derrick was saying, now the cycle just continues because it wasn't a healing relationship. It wasn't. You're still in that cycle of pain again. And until you come to that awareness and have that understanding, like, why am I like that? And like he said, he had to look, okay, I keep choosing the same person. Then that's when you like, what is in me that is causing me to do this? Then that's when you can begin the healing process to try to make now conscious decisions to keep yourself out of relationships that continue to trigger those wounds and don't help you heal.
Now, what about you? Choosing from trauma picking relationships.
And see, with my trauma was a different thing. It wasn't a pick that I was trying to heal myself. It was because I didn't even know how broken I was coming from prison after 10 years. So I got into a relationship. So I wasn't just seeking that person for something. I was seeking something to feel something that I had been missing for a decade. A beautiful woman, the conversation, the comfort of her, the carnal yearnings and those types of things. And in dealing with that, I broke her because I guess in a sense I broke myself once I did what I did and had to look at what kind of man did that. So my trauma came. She was actually a byproduct of my trauma that I realized. So fortunately for her, I don't go out looking for certain things because I had to recognize them within myself after doing that to her. But so I get exactly what you're saying, Derrick. It's just I came already broken.
Yeah.
And I was just already broke.
Yeah.
That is a you know, that trauma and being able to look through that lens or that healing lens and say, okay, it ain't the people that I'm picking, it's me. You know,
Yeah.
if the same thing keeps happening and I'm the common denominator, then I need to let this math be mathing right, because I need to eliminate myself. But you know what? One of the hardest parts about this is, and y'all addressed this kind of earlier, when you get into this dating game, a lot of people don't want to start with themselves.
Mm-mm.
We don't want to look at us and say, I am broken, or I am not in a good space, or I am not, I'm going to keep dating even though I know, you know, the two back tires are on spares and they about to go flat, but I'm gonna keep driving anyway.
Anyway.
Um, okay, so I want to ask y'all a question about and if anybody that's looking got a question they want to chime in, go ahead and type it in the chat. We want y'all to be engaged as well. We don't want to sit up here like we're preaching to you all or anything like that. So if you got a question, anything about dating or anything like that, go ahead and pop it in the chat and we'll address that. Uh, here's a question: how avoidable do you think carrying baggage into a relationship is?
I don't think you can avoid it.
Yeah, I was about
Okay.
to say, we all bring a bag. It just depends on how many bags. I think we all bring a bag because we all have things with us, but it just what's inside the bags matter. Like you got some big old boulders or some little pebbles. Like we all bring a bag, but it's like what's in that bag that has to get unpacked matters, right? Some people have a lot to unpack, some people got a little to unpack. But to think you're gonna meet somebody and they don't have a bag, they may have one, and then you might meet somebody that got 12. But I think we all bring something with us, especially if you lived a little bit and have had relationships with other people.
Okay. I agree. I agree 100%.
I think
Me too.
if you I'm sorry. I think if you um a lot of so most of us will even have stuff and baggage that we thought we knew it all until we get into a relationship, right? And sometimes you find new things to trigger you that you didn't even know was there. So it's really, I think it's really not about avoiding it more than it is understanding that it's there, understanding how to manage it, understanding what it looks like when it shows up. And that's a on the job training. Like sometimes we don't even, like I say, we don't even realize until we had the first argument. And they be like, whoa, like you're affecting someone else because they triggered something in you that you didn't know was there. So I think no matter who you are, it's something going to be there unless you lived in a bubble your whole life. Something's another human being that has a whole totally different life experience. We don't even know what it's going to touch until it happens. So I'm gonna land there.
That excess baggage is real.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So in this sphere, y'all all talk to people, y'all all do a thing. What are some of the common things that y'all hear that just make you say in this dating world? I've been out of the dating game for a very long time, but I do still understand relationships. Um, I do relationships. I do marriage counseling. I do pre-marriage counseling. So I understand the relationships, but this sphere right here, what are some of the things that y'all are seeing that y'all could say, let me tell somebody this X, Y, and Z so that they can not fall down this path when it comes to dating? What would be your go-to advice that somebody who is already kind of did the healing journey, kind of start to move and working on themselves, but now starting to really say, okay, I want to get out here and test the waters?
Okay, I'll go. I think a knee-jerk reaction for me, I probably would tell them like they've already kind of started working on healing and trying to understand themselves. And so now they're like, okay, I I want to jump out there again and see, what happens. The first thing I would tell them is, don't forget everything you learned. Your boundaries need to be turned on at all times. Everybody gets the same qualification to get access to you, no matter how cute they are, no matter how tingly you feel. Everybody gets the same work, or you will find somebody to slip through the cracks really easily because you folded. Like I always tell people on my platform, a lot of people fold in like the first week or the first conversation that lasted 6 hours. And it's like, oh my God, this person, we've been on the phone for 6 hours and it feel like I've known them my whole lifetime. All your boundaries were purchased in one day. And now it's open season. And then 6 months later, you're like, I don't know what happened. Like because that person got to do whatever they wanted to after. So by the time you get on the first date, it's a done deal. you got them on the phone.
Right.
Because it wasn't just a willy-nilly, it was a 6-hour conversation. Let's say you ain't never had longer than an hour. So now you're like, we're in uncharted territory. This must really be a real connection. It's still a stranger. This is what I always tell on my show. Still a stranger. 2 weeks later, still a stranger. 3 weeks later, it's still a stranger. You don't get to just mix and mingle in my personal space and all of this stuff and have free reign without trying to figure out who each other are. Like I don't preach that. I know people do it. We grown and all of that, but there's certain parts of you that should have a gate with an access code on it. So I'm
sure.
a man there.
Yeah, I would say that just because someone approaches you does not mean they owe you a relationship. I see so many women say, but if he didn't want a relationship, why did he approach me? Because people have to get to know one another. Everybody that approaches you does not owe you a relationship. And you have to be prepared to spend time. A lot of people, oh, I don't want to waste my time. No, you don't want to waste time, but you got to spend time. You have to spend it. In order to vet somebody, to get to know somebody, you got to be prepared to spend time, and you're not going to get that back. So you got to spend it, and some of you're not going to get back. And some of the time you spend may not go into, the outcome may not be what you thought it would be. But look how you've grown, how you were able to let somebody go when you realized they weren't for you. He was able to make a decision for himself too. Understand that we all have the right to make decisions for ourselves, but be prepared to spend time, be prepared to get rejected, be prepared to do the rejecting. Be prepared for all that and be able to maintain your self-esteem in all of it. But don't think just because somebody approached you, they owe you a relationship. No, people got to get to know you. They know what they want, just like you know what you want. And you will be rejected like you will also do the rejecting. So I'll say that.
Okay.
If I was talking to a man, I would tell him first and foremost, be patient. And from that patience, be objective and honest with yourself so that you don't go into this and old things reoccur. Because I think sometimes we think we're healed and we're not. And I would say that know that you're healed before you go back on that same journey, because I don't think, me as a decent human being, I don't want to be responsible for that kind of damage. So before I would do that again, I would just be honest with a woman that I met. So I would tell men, my advice to men is always be a man. Say what you want. Because unfortunately, we have women that you can tell them things that they should send you walking, but they will embrace you. So be truthful. You have no need to lie to a woman. Sometimes you will find those that know their self-worth and you appreciate her, and maybe you'll have to step up your game. But for the most part, I just tell a dude, be completely honest with yourself, and then you can be honest with that woman and moving forward.
I think that's great. I think y'all all got. So I just got a question text to me from somebody who's watching, and they want to know right now, are you all either single or in a committed relationship?
14 years.
14 years. Woo woo.
Dude, I got committed.
Miss Bre?
Sure.
And so for me right now, I am single.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So that was the question that was asked right there. And both y'all, Bree, you said something. I want to piggyback off of that. Excuse me. And I know y'all all got input in this particular question. And somebody who's on the opposite end of the spectrum, to how what would you tell somebody, or how do you know when it's time to end a relationship?
How will you know?
Yeah, how would you know when it's time to end a relationship?
I would say you know when it's time to end a relationship when the relationship is a detriment to your overall well being. It's a detriment to your spirit, to your soul, to your emotional health, your physical health, your financial health. You know it's time to end when it is abusive, physically, verbally. You know it's time to end a relationship when nobody is watering the seed anymore and it's stagnant. The relationship is not growing. You know, things that have the energy of love grows things, and when things are no longer growing, then you know that love is no longer present. And so those things combined should let you know when it's time to end a relation, when you know you need to fold. You need to fold.
Okay, that's good. With that, I like that.
Can I just say what she said? And then
Yes, verbatim.
I mean, I could just pare back everything she said. I mean, it's a difficult space because sometimes people go through things, and then there's the percentage of time where they work it out or whatever, and then it could. But for the most part, I think a lot of people know way earlier than they would like to think, and I think a lot of people suffer in silence for fear of just conflict, fear of whatever, and they sit in it and they create their own kind of what I call prisons, and they sit in it because they don't know. A lot of times you go in at a deficit, right? I always tell people, who were you before you met them? That's where most of the meat and potatoes are, because a lot of stuff that's happening ain't even about the person that you with. So once you actually see that it's not, like she said, it's not serving you, you have more hurt than you have smiles, and it's consistent and it's not moving. And if you are trying to kind of reconcile it, and that partner don't want any parts of that reconcile, then it's time to keep it pushing. But I know for a lot of people it's difficult because I invested time, and all of these things have nothing to do with self-preservation or your self-esteem. It's
Right.
always, I spent too much time, or how are they gonna feel if I leave, or what if I don't find anybody else? And that's when you can tell where they are, right? Where they are in their esteem and their self-worth and their self-love. You can tell where the deficits are, because none of the talking points about why they should leave have anything to do with any kind of strength within themselves. And most of us, I won't say about, a lot of us lose that in service of making someone else happy, and we forget about ourselves.
That's
I'll land
good.
there.
Damn. I guess simply put, the first time you think that you have to talk yourself into trying to stay, or why you should stay, is probably time to leave.
Okay. Yeah. 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 Bree, I know that you had some other obligations later on. So just whenever you gotta attend to those other obligations, just throw the peace sign, okay? I don't want you to feel like you get deep in the conversation and then you miss out on your other obligations. So, um, so here's what I say. Um, in reference to that, you are leaving. When should you? How do you know when it's time to leave a relationship? Y'all all said everything, and there's nothing really added on to that other than um being okay with making the decision to to being okay with it, right? Because sometimes making the decision or making a tough decision is the hard part. Knowing that you got to make a decision. I got a friend that I was speaking with this week, and she has a tough decision that she has to make. Now, she is wrestling with making the tough decision that she has to make. And I don't think we don't give ourselves enough space to say, it's okay for me to feel like this. This is not an emotional decision. And I just have to make this decision. Because people will stay, just like y'all said, people will stay in something even though that they know that they shouldn't, because they're just afraid just to make the decision to leave.
Yeah. Yeah, I talk about this quite a bit because a lot of the people that come to me have this very issue because my demographic, although I would love for it to be wider, ends up being like over 40, over 50, and these people have been in these relationships forever, and they have known it's been wrong for like 5, 6, 7 years, and they still like, how can I leave? I don't know if I. And this isn't necessarily like marriages. This is just like people that just been in the same toxic thing for so many years that it's become a part of them, and then they know they will literally tell you, I know this isn't good for me. I'm not happy, but I can't leave. And I'm like, can't is a big word. Can't is a huge word. And what I find with a lot of them is that, like I said early, just a few minutes ago, when I coach them, I take them not through the relationship. I take them to who they were before they met the person, right? Who you were before you met the person informed why you chose them, why you might have attached to them. And then everything else that happens after that, you get to see how they move through the relationship despite what the other person may or may not have done. And then it's like, okay, so you lost yourself in probably like month number 2. And you in year 7. Because most of the time when you ask them, when did you know that it didn't feel right? It's not like last week or last month. They be like, oh, it's probably about 4 or 5 years ago. So I'm like, you stayed 5 more years?
Right.
That's when you know that there's a lot of healing that hasn't been done, a lot of understanding that hasn't been done. A lot of times people come in with very low self-esteem. They're looking for somebody to make them feel better. So when you come in with a low percentage of self-esteem or self-worth or whatever it is, by definition, when you pair with someone, they're going to be filling that up for you. Well, if somebody fills it up for you, they have control. Whether it's a conscious or subconscious control, you depend on them to keep you full because you came in with nothing. So when it comes time to leave, how much strength do you have? They own that.
Right.
So now you're like, I can't leave. And I'm like, I'm sure you can't because you need them for your happiness 100%. It's hard to leave something like that. It's almost impossible emotionally to detach from something that you've been dependent on. No matter how toxic it is, it's something versus nothing.
Oh man, that's great. So I come in and my takes on E. I attach all my stuff in the relationship to you, and I'm still only on a fourth of a tank, but I filled, and so now I don't think that I can go outside of you because I've attached everything that I do to man. And so like you said, so they end up staying in relationships way past the time. And then by that time, so let's say you came in a relationship with no children, and everything is, you are no child, and now there's a child involved. Now there's the fear of being a single parent. Now there's the fear of what do nobody else is going to want nobody else is going to want me of because of X, Y, and Z. Wow. Yeah.
Because here's the thing. If you play out what you just said, right? If I come in with a trauma or some deficit in like whatever self-esteem, whatever, right? This lends itself into what they call attachment theory or attachment styles, like why you attach to certain type of people. So now you grab onto this person to help you feel fulfilled, right? Then you have kids, then you have time spent, right? Years go by. And then even when you know it's not right, even when you feel whether it's verbal, emotional abuse, and all of these things that kind of cripple us, imagine now if I came in with a trauma, whether it's self-imposed or whether the other person triggered something in me from that trauma, now you're doubling and tripling down on something that was existing before, and you are worse now. You're twice as bad, 3 times as bad. And now you have all of that weight on you, but still need the strength to leave. It's daunting for a lot. Some people stay 30 years,
30 years.
35 years, and they're like, I know somebody who was in a 25, 26-year marriage, and they said it was bad after 10 years. They should have left 10 years, both of them. We should have left 10 years in, and they ended up staying because they wanted to make sure the last kid turned 18. So 10 years later, being miserable in the household because
I can't even imagine.
that's a lot. Who do you become? Who do you become once it's over? Like once you get a divorce, what does your whole internal makeup?
Right. How do you pick up those pieces? Because it's the pieces that you're picking up are false pieces.
Yeah.
They're not. You have to go back all the way to this to square one of the frame, because you've lost yourself for such a long period of time.
Yeah.
And in this dating world, how important do you think, like that's big. So it goes back to the question I asked, like, so when do somebody know to pull out?
So I don't think it's about when do they know, right? Because knowing is different than actually like doing it.
Yeah.
Knowing, I think a lot of people know early, but they push past it for whatever the reason is. A lot of people know like within the first year or within the first 6 months. They know that this person it's not compatible, but there's something in it. Remember, we talked about there's something in you that needs to be there, that needs to attach to it, and you stay. So I think the bigger question is, when is it enough? How do you know when it's enough that enough is enough, like for you to really detach? Because people know way earlier than they come out and actually say it, like way earlier. Because I this is the question, like I said earlier, that I always ask them, like, oh, I've been with a narcissist and he's so, this or that. And I'm like, okay, but when did you know that it didn't sit right in your spirit, that it didn't really? And they were like, within the first 2 months. And I'm like, so you had deal breakers in the first 2 months and you in 2 years?
Right.
So I don't pass judgment on them because I know we all got stuff that make us want to grab on to stuff. But now I'm like, so when you ask the question, when did they know? I think sometimes people have like a threshold, right? Where they like, okay, once I get here, then I got to go. But there's a larger population of people than that say, if I hit the threshold, then what? And the then what becomes something that scares the daylights out of them. So
Right.
then it's like, I might as well just stay. Like I think there's a saying like, stick with the devil, So they like, I already know all the toxicity that's here. So at least I know this. If I leave, I might get something worse. So let me just try to manage this, because at least I know what this is. And it's like, but when you do the work, right? And when you peel back the layers, whether it's through therapy or whatever, right? Coaching, whatever. When you peel back the layers, you'll find some points in their lives, or maybe a single point, maybe when they were a kid, that they had experienced, whether it's a parent or some family member or even an early relationship, where they were shown love through this toxic behavior. And then they pick someone that mirrors that, but they don't realize it until they get further in, and they're like, oh my God, I stayed for 3 years, and how did I get here? Why would I choose someone that's been abusive all of this time? And then I'm like, you saw this when you were growing up.
Yeah.
You saw this in your, then when you actually peel back and you look at all of their relationships, it's the same thread. They picking from that same place. That's where the trauma picking comes from. You're still picking. And so when you get into these devastating things, and I've been accused of victim blaming, but I'm like, there's something there that makes that person not have the strength to leave something that is so daunting and so abusive, and you're paying you in the closet crying, and it's still not enough.
Right. There's no breaking point. I think that the desire to be desired will have you compromise in everything that you believe in.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
When you've been in this single space for a long time, and then you kind of start to venture back in, and now you have this person desiring you, and then like you said, you have deal breakers or non-negotiables, and
Mm-hmm.
or you don't,
Yeah.
and so but you have them, and then the desire to be desired cause you to move your line. And so if I have rules, if I have a line drawn in the sand, and I have rules stacked on top of that line, right?
Mm-hmm.
If I compromise that line, then all the rules that's attached to that line are
Bingo.
null and void now.
Yep. Yep. And that's what every predatory dater knows, whether it's a narcissistic trait. I don't like to say narcissist, but like narcissistic trait. You call them players, predators, whatever you call them, they will see this early. This is why I always tell people, and I said it earlier in the show, your boundaries should still be up, even if you was married for 20 years. The things that you just won't compromise are your character. You're married, you have a husband or a wife, and you're like, look, husband, early on, like, I don't like this. I can't do this. And then they should, maybe there's some compromise in the middle, but they should respect that, and you keep on moving. You never turn it off, right? And so a lot of people are turning it off just because they like somebody. And I'm like, wait, you trust this person after 2 weeks? What kind of conversations did you have in 2 weeks? Well, I didn't want to ask too many questions because they thought it was an interview, and I just holding off because I don't want to lose them. So I'm like, okay, so now we need to check your abandonment issues, because you don't want somebody to leave you that you don't even know. Where's that coming from? So that stuff right there is the catalyst that then that person then keeps pursuing this thing, and now they in 3 years and they're like, I'm not even compatible with this person.
And I seen it way at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I just chose to not.
You think about it. Think about it like this, real quick. Think about it like this. Even as a man, right? When you ask a group of men, have you ever dated a toxic female that just wasn't good for you? And then when you ask them, when did they know that this woman had these issues? It's early. Like, we see it early, and we keep pushing because we say we like a little crazy or we like a spicy, until you got to live with spicy every day.
Every day, yeah,
live with a
sure.
dysfunction every day. Now you don't want it anymore. Now you got her pregnant, and now my baby mama crazy. No, you knew
from the jump.
Most of the time, you knew there was some extra coming with that woman, but you thought it was exciting. So this is why I always try to teach men, and I had to learn this myself. We can have boundaries too. I know we can say no. We can have discipline. I know it's foreign to a lot of us because it was foreign to me. And once I actually started gating access, and I'm like, no, you can't come to my house. No, I only known you for 2 days. No. And then I was like, it was hard at first though. But then I was like, I have things to lose. Like, I can't just be moving out here crazy. I don't know these people. So once I started doing that, the candidates that I accepted in got better.
Right.
I had qualifications in order for you to get, like, just like how I would tell a woman. But men, because we just kind of a lot of times just move about the world any kind of way we want to, and we'll just figure it out. We don't even tell people no. I don't care if it's your dream girl. She still have to align with the things that you know.
Right. But that'll cause you to compromise your boundaries. So for those who are listening to this and y'all running like, what is he talking about? He's talking about at the beginning of any relationship that you put some boundaries in place so that somebody just doesn't have access to all your information that they will turn and use against you later on in the relationship.
Yeah.
And if you have no questions and you let the other person dictate and steer the conversation, all they're doing is collecting intel.
Mm-hmm.
And as I collect intel, I am then lacing my conversations with your information so you could really think that I'm into you. But if you have some qualifying questions, if you have boundaries, if you have a vetting process put in place where you and your non-negotiables, your deal breakers, whatever that is, you have those in place on the front end of dating, then you will uh most likely not fall into the trap of being in one of these kind of relationships, because enough questions over time will cause somebody to say, I don't know. I,
Yeah.
I don't know if it's worth it because of the questioning.
Yep.
And I've been married 21 years, and I don't know if my wife is on here or not, but uh, so we both had vetting processes in the beginning. We
Yep.
both She took me to her accountability people. She took me to her prayer partners. They asked the questions while she got a chance to sit there and watch how I responded to the questions. She had her own questions. She took me to her girlfriends. Her girlfriends asked questions, and they weren't no surface level questions. They
Right.
were they were some deep questions that they've been in the prayer closet praying and asking questions. And then on the flip side, I took her to my accountability. I took her to my mentor and my mentor wife, and let them vet her to just have an additional safety net, because I could be blinded because of the desire or the being in love with the idea of being loved.
Mm-hmm.
And I could be blinded by all that. And so having these checkpoints really helped as we moved into the relationship. And we both had our non-negotiables. And sometimes we moved the line, which compromised the rule. But overall, 21 years later, and we are still, and to the day, like you said, even if you're 20 years in, you still gotta refine and
Yeah.
change
Yeah.
and update the list and the questions.
Yeah. It's really about, and this is the thing that I think works for most couples that last a long time. Some of those lines can get moved here or there, but it's the foundation that you build from the beginning of the equally yoked, the alignment, and the core values. When you stick to those and you build a foundation on that, all of the other stuff that tends to lines move. You grow into different people over time, but if you stick to those foundations that you set, the core stuff, you can always bounce back if both people are willing to kind of work at it, because you have some that doesn't move most of the time. The core stuff doesn't move. All the other stuff on top of that kind of shifts back and forth sometimes, but you still have those things that you honor and that you stick to, whether it's the things that you've discussed together, whether it's your religion, where it's a whole bunch of other things in the middle. You stick to that. The adversity is going to come, the arguments and all these other things that hurt us sometimes. But when you come back to that foundation, it's kind of like it's a safe. It should be a safe space. It should be something that you both can look at and say, you know what? Wow, we got away from that.
So this person said a man with boundaries is more attractive because I know he will protect our relationship with that same mindset.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah,
Very true.
for sure. For
Very true.
sure.
And that all goes back to discipline. That all goes back to self-awareness and discipline, and moving in a measured way that doesn't look chaotic. Right? Some people are drawn to chaos. But if you have someone that's like, they stand on their principles, they stand their ground, that I'm not going to compromise this. That what she's saying is attractive, because our relationship is going to foster from at least from his side and how we merge together, that discipline is going to carry through in a lot of cases, the financial part of the relationship and all these other places where people have issues. Someone who's convicted like that up front, that's a value add.
For sure. I mean, I was hoping my wife was going to jump in, and she could actually speak to that. That I valued I valued her rules.
Mm-hmm.
Her whatever she set, whatever she put in place, I respected that and I value that. And she did mine as well. And so that is very true that that is something that a man that has the intentions on moving further in the relationship is going to do with that same mindset. But if I'm playing games, then yeah, I'm not going, because then I will cause you to compromise your boundaries.
Yeah.
And if
Like-
I keep pushing up against the fence on your boundaries, and I keep trying to get you to eliminate at least one boundary so that I can slide on in there, then that is not the person for you. And then that's when you got to go back to the beginning and say, you know what? These are my boundaries. These are my rules.
Yep.
These are my non-negotiables.
Yep.
And I am not going. Now we got to start to say, how do I weed you out of the conversation? Because you're showing me who you really are. And the saying is, when somebody show you who they are,
yep, gotta believe it.
Believe them.
Yeah. Yeah. Boundaries is what got me got. Like if the boundaries wasn't there, I probably I had much respect for the fact that I couldn't just move in a certain way. She was like, nope. If you want to be here, you respect. And I was like, okay, I gotta make sure I maintain my frame because I don't want to lose her. So even though I wasn't necessarily in it to play games, certain little things that you would do, she'd be like, wait, not with me, you won't.
Right.
And I was like, oh, well, okay. And if a woman that knows that she is, for lack of a better word, a prize, she knows that if something doesn't work, that she's still kind of marketable out there in the streets. And she let me know, like, I can leave and I will be fine. And I was like, it ain't just about me. Like, she's like, yeah, I'm not. It's not like men don't try to talk to me. So I don't know what you want from this. So you gotta, what are we doing? And I was like, oh, I'm not going nowhere. We good, right?
I totally get it. So she says a person who has no structure in their single life won't know how to follow structure in a relationship. She's speaking.
Yeah, that's one of my friends. That's her name is Erica. Yeah,
she is dropping gems like a drunken pirate up in this mug. Yeah, that's true though.
That's true. You know what I tell people? You are what you practice, right? So if you practice in being a player, you don't just get to turn that off just because you met somebody overnight. Like those are your habits. You got an appetite.
For sure.
So the discipline needs to be practiced before you meet the person.
For sure. I am yes. Definitely. That's some good insight that she is that she has. And so we have a special guest coming to the stage right now. I am just going to introduce her right here. This is my lovely wife. I don't know if she's going to turn her camera on or not.
She is not on the camera tonight.
Okay. So for everybody, This is my wife Lou, and so we've been married for 21 years, and so what you have to contribute to this conversation?
Well, I don't
Oh,
know. This
first of all, this is
conversation.
Derrick. Derrick, this is my wife Lou.
Hey D, how are
Hey,
you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I've been listening to the conversation. It's been good conversation. You guys are pretty deep tonight. Y'all going real deep on the dating.
We have to.
This is
We can't
surface
stay on
level
the
stuff.
surface.
Y'all scared the single people off. Where'd they go? What happened?
So what's your take on on the dating game? I know you haven't been dating in a while.
Well, sometimes even in marriage, we still got to keep dating, right?
For sure.
We still got to keep dating. But you are absolutely right. Yes, we have both been out of the single dating game for quite a while. It's interesting because I still have, obviously we all do still have single people around us. And, you know, they don't often ask the veteran married lady about dating. So
They never do.
but it's just really interesting, I think, to watch from a distance. A lot of interesting things, like a lot of these single people today. And I'm going to speak for kind of like the single, I would say like 35 and up,
Mhm.
right? Because I think it's a little different when your 20 somethings are dating. And I heard Derrick, you spoke a lot of great stuff about you know dating from your trauma and really needing to be from a healing place. But when you get into your 30s and your 40s and even upward, right? Even single people, I have single friends that are in their 50s. This whole landscape look a little bit different because your needs, I think, are different. I think some of my friends that are living their best life, to be honest, they're, as you were talking about, some of the things that they need, some of the quote unquote lists that we have or used to have, those lists change significantly, I think, the older that you get. And so I can't get on here and speak from a young person's perspective, but definitely, when you grown, the time that it takes to figure this thing out, is much shorter. And Maurice, when we started dating, we weren't young. I often say that we were a little bit older. So like that 90-day rule was real. What did I tell you? You was my friend or my fiance. You was not gonna be no boyfriend.
See, that's what I'm talking about right there. That's what I'm talking about.
You're not gonna be no boyfriend forever. So I think the the adults in the room really are like, you know, and I hate that the young lady wasn't able to stay. Your other guest that was really talking about, you don't have to have it all together. You don't have to have it all healed, but you definitely know what your non-negotiables are at that point. At this point in life.
Yeah. Yeah, my wife said I'm doing a lot to just be a girlfriend. I don't know what we doing, but I don't know what you gonna do, but yeah,
Yeah.
we not gonna stay here forever. And I
No.
was like, okay, I get it, I get it.
Right.
Right, and being comfortable enough that it's not about a ultimatum. It's
Ultimately,
not
right,
about an
right, right.
ultimatum. It's about me knowing where I am and you knowing where you are, and we're okay with wherever we are.
Yep,
But I know where I'm not going to be for a long time.
exactly. And that's how it should be. Like I think a lot of women too, they're really like they're not there yet. Like
Mhm.
even at 50, 60, I have some people that I talk to that are like 65 and they're like, I don't know if I can stand my own, advocate for myself or
Mm,
I didn't even know I needed to have boundaries. And I'm like, what? But then
yeah.
you also have to look at everybody's experiences are different and blah, blah, blah. But it's important that you advocate for yourself outside
Yes,
and inside of a relationship, or you're going to let people run all over you.
absolutely.
For sure. For sure. Um, let's see. I'm gonna go ahead, right? Because this is just the beginning. Because I want to do this again. This is just a opening to to this dating piece, and which is going to evolve into relationships, which will evolve into marriage. We'll do a marriage panel and things like that. So I really appreciate you jumping on, D. I really do. And I'm gonna go ahead and put your stuff up. So for like I told y'all, anytime y'all jump into a live on TikTok with anybody that was on this panel, they are going to respect and value you as a human. It's not a lot. It's not going to be the toxic stuff where you have everybody spewing. It's the man's fault. It's the woman's fault. Women are blah blah blah. And men are blah blah blah. And yada 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 yada. It ain't none of that. It's none of that, because healing does not blame. Healing takes responsibility. And so one of the first. This is my man. Go check him out on his TikTok at relationship_gumbo, and really follow him and tap into his community. Be a part of what he's talking about. Be a part of his discussion. Be a part of the things that he got going on. His classes, his webinars, everything that he's doing in order to help you become a healed and whole person. Go follow Bre at Bre Mitriece. She does a lot of things. She's an author. She has some books. She has some journals. She has a lot of things that's helping women get back into that space of becoming whole and healthy, and helping women navigate through these difficult times. With her being a woman, she's coming from a woman's perspective. So, and this ain't about just women. I don't want y'all to get this twisted. I'm just saying this about, because there are men out here who's dating, but I'm just saying, tap into these positive resources. Go holler at my guy, CaNon. He is doing some phenomenal things in the space that he is in. He is actually an author and a speaker. He has about 4 books that he's written, and he's out in these TikTok streets. And he's doing a series right now on just being accountable to yourself. And y'all go follow me, Seymour Reese Ball. I got all kind of stuff that I'll be talking about. And I don't. Let me not say that. I have some things that I talk about, but pull up, follow us on TikTok at follow me at Seymour Reese Ball. Follow them at relationship_gumbo, Bre Mitriece, and Grown Man CEO. Go follow my wife at Lou Ball. I think that's what it is.
No, you don't have to follow me. It's all good.
Go follow her, because she's trying to build her TikTok. But with that being said, hey, this was a great conversation. This is just part 1 of this dating thing that we're going to do. Anybody else got any conversation? Anything they want to say to the people before we bounce?
Nope, this was good. I appreciate you having me again. And hopefully we'll do this another time. So yeah, I appreciate you. Great conversation. It needs to be had, and it needs to be had in a safe place that people can actually learn and possibly get some solutions to things that they're trying to do. Because there's a lot of people out here that's trying to fill blanks in, and it's like whoever they can listen to is gonna fill it in, and it's gonna go with it. So we need constructive conversations. We need solutions-based conversations, and we may not catch everybody, but the people that want to learn and listen and grow, we here.
That is what's up. Love, you got anything you want to say?
Peace.
Yeah.
Have a good night, everyone. Nice meeting you, Derrick.
Nice meeting you too.
Hey, so you've been tuned in to Open for Discussion. I'm your boy, Seymour Reese Ball. I love you like a play cousin, and I'm out. Peace.